And you and I have seen that's how sellers are really able to win on Amazon when they bring a product that is improved in a way that helps meet what customers want, then they can get ahead of their competition.
Hey, welcome back to the Amazing Freedom Podcast. Nate Slamans here with Andy Slamans, and we are coming back from what was a really exciting trip to Springfield, Missouri, where we hosted our seventh meetup for Tribe 7, where we had over 200 sellers come and attend there, and it was just a great week. Andy, you were actually there for I think a full week with Steve Peterson, Dan Wentworth. I was there for about 3 or 4 days. And it was just a good time. So I really want to hit that and some of the key lessons we took away there. And then I want to cover one of the ways that we see sellers get into private label the easiest and have some really early success. So a lot of great stuff there. As we get into that, I want to remind you, if you're watching us, go to amazingfreedom.com/insider and sign up to be an insider. We have a weekly newsletter that we've been putting out and a monthly magazine. The latest edition for April in May have been really on point. I think the layouts have been just awesome, giving tons of value there. So sign up to be an insider. You'll get that delivered to you right away if you do that. Andy, how have you been since you got back from the trip there? And what were some of the highlights for you along the way?
Yeah, so going to Amazon seller conferences, always exciting time. Pre-COVID, you and I would attend usually 6 to 8 every year. COVID hits and a majority of them have been shut down. Thankfully, though, even during COVID, we continued to have our meetup. We took the necessary precautions. This was another great time. Almost 200 Amazon sellers were in attendance. The majority of them were retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, a little bit of wholesale. We also hosted a one-day conference. We had about 30 Amazon sellers that came that wanted to learn about brand building, private labeling. So that was a really good time. We did it in an Airbnb, and that was probably my favorite session that we've done. And over the past 5 years, Nate, you and I have done probably 15 to 16 different intensive private labeling workshops. I really enjoyed this one. Having a smaller number, we were able to get really good audience feedback and engagement, which I think always helps the learning process when it comes to learning all things brand building and private labeling.
Yeah, let's talk about that more, because I agree. I think that probably was the very best one that we've done. Now we've had 15 or 16 times to get it right, I guess, so that helps tremendously. But this one really did just flow really well all day. It was an 8-hour session from 9 to 5-ish or whatever it was, and it really just took the high level of private label brand building, and I think we were able to lay it out a lot clearer than we did in the past. And probably one of the reasons was that we didn't get overly technical in some of the sessions that we were doing there. We definitely hit some technicalities, but we didn't really spend a lot of time in Helium 10 or diving into keyword research. We really helped, I think, lay out a good way to start to identify a niche or an opportunity that you want to go for. Some of it was a deeper look at what we've been talking about on the podcast for the last couple of weeks, honestly, and really doing some more application with the attendees that were at that workshop. We also broke people into groups, and I did want to talk about this because I think this is a good exercise that anybody listening to this could do by themselves at home. And you actually brought, 4 different products that you had ordered from Amazon, and we split our attendees into groups of about 4 or 5, and we had each group look at the product that we brought and look for ways, I try to identify ways that they would personally improve or change the product in order to compete on Amazon. A very simple exercise, but essentially what we do every time we look at a product opportunity, right? We go to Amazon and we're looking at what is the current review rating? How are the main images? what is the listing quality and what are the reviews saying about this product. And sometimes we'll actually buy products, right? We've done that on a number of Amazon listings. We'll order the product to our house and see, mess around with it, send it to a supplier sometimes, or just mess around with it ourselves, use it and see, hey, is there a way that we would improve on this? Well, we do that ourselves. But when you bring it to a group the way that we did for the session, and you work with 4 or 5 other people, it is pretty amazing the differences of creativity that you get when you're in a group setting like that, right? There's just certain things that I might think of that you might never think of, Andy, and vice versa. So I think that's the coolest thing. And so I guess one takeaway I would say from that is, and I think you've done this before with products where you will get a sample, and not only will you kind of use it and beat it up and actually use it like you were a customer, but you'll have your wife Deanna do it. You'll have your kids do it. And I think you could take that even further and ask some other third parties. So to me, that was probably one of my favorite sessions of the day. That was very simple, and we got a lot more deep and detailed in a way that we can't, don't have time to cover in a podcast. But as far as being able to do that in a group environment, that's probably one of my favorite things there.
Yeah. So one of the products that we brought was a silicone spatula set, top selling product on Amazon, home and kitchen category. Does over $100,000 a month, but it was pretty basic, and so we gave it to all the attendees and said, "Hey, what could you do different that would really set this product apart, or help customers purchase yours over this one?" And very good insights, as they started to peel back the onion on what they could do different with this set. And one of the things they discovered right away, they looked at the listing on Amazon, and right on the packaging and then the listing that says dishwasher safe. Well, one of the top negative reviews on the product was customers were putting it in their dishwasher and the sets were melting. And so they were able to identify right away, like, hey, look, this product could even be better had the manufacturer done the work to actually make their silicone spatula sets dishwasher safe. And then they just kind of ripped through a list of different things they could potentially do. And you and I have seen that's how sellers are really able to win on Amazon, when they bring a product that is improved in a way that helps meet what customers want, then they can get ahead of their competition.
Yeah, so I think it just reinforced for me the importance of, when you're looking at a new product, doing this type of exercise, not just yourself, but with other people that have a different perspective, and as much as possible, someone who would be a true customer. And I think, we recommend that. We've been talking about it. Like if you can use a hobby or an expertise or something that you know about, way better. But let's say, we've looked at a lot of products in the past where that's not the case. It just looks like a good opportunity on Amazon because there's a lot of demand there. But we know nothing about the product. That's where I think we've made some mistakes in the past, where we could have done a better job getting a sample or just getting the idea in the hands of someone who would better fit the customer profile of who you're looking at, and getting their opinion. And we've talked about this a couple weeks ago, but one of the things that we're doing now this year more than ever, and I think is helping us win. We're up this month. If you're following your $10 million challenge, we've been putting out our monthly stats of where we're at on the way to trying to get to 10 million. And we started the year off, pretty rough if you've been following us, not hitting our goals. But in April, we exceeded what our goal was for April, and May is starting out really strong too. So it looks like we could exceed May, doing over a million, 1.2 million, I think, for both months. One of the things that we really are trying to do more is, get new products that we're looking at into the hands of testers before we go all in on it. So one of our products that we launched in January, we sent out, I think, 30-ish free samples before we ever even listed on Amazon. And we tweaked some of the things about the product. We really started getting some pictures, some user-generated content from these people. And so we're just trying to do a lot more of that, where we're doing some testing through our audience. So obviously that's easier if you already have an audience built up. We've talked about it. We have over 10,000 Instagram followers for our brand. So through Instagram, we're able to connect with these testers, who are people who are, like our brand already and know who we are and are willing to, test our products. That's easier. And so that's one thing you could try to be working on if you don't have that, is building up some form of audience. But if you don't have that, usually you can create some type of sample set by just people that, family, relatives, people that, it could be, even just like a local area. You try to connect with people through some kind of your kid's soccer team or your kid's basketball team, and you get with the parents, ask them to test the product. So I think I would do more of that if I was starting today with a brand new brand, even though I tend to like to just be like, yeah, this looks good. And I think it's good. So, and I can't think of anything else. So there must not be anything more. Doing this exercise in a group really opened my eyes to, again, the creativity of other people in some ways that I just clearly miss a lot of times.
For sure. I do want to point out one attendee's issue that he brought to us that I think we see a lot. He actually had a design made, so he paid like an architect a little bit of money, had a design made, and it was a really good design of a potential product. And so he was showing me the drawings, and it looked really nice. But what he hadn't done first was research what the key words were that Amazon shoppers may be putting into Amazon to find that potential product. And so we see that often. And this is kind of just a warning that we give out. A lot of times, folks have really good ideas and they may even spend money and time into prototyping an idea, just like this gentleman did. But if there's no demand for that product, if there's no keyword search being put in that Amazon search bar for that product, you kind of put the cart in front of the horse. Really, the first step that you have to take, and this is what I shared with them because he kept coming back to me. He really likes this idea, right? And so he thinks it's a really good one. So he kept coming back, and I just had to repeat over and over. Look, it looks like a great product. Your drawing looks great. However, you have to see and make sure there is demand for that product because you might create something, put it on Amazon, and no one is able to find it or no one is searching for it. And now you spend all this time and money into a product that nobody wants. And so you end up with dead inventory.
Yeah, and so that was important in that workshop where we covered that, but we're actually planning to do a 6-part video training as a kind of post follow-up to this one-day event that we did there in Springfield. And during that, that's when we're really going to dive deep into how do you determine that keyword research to see if the demand is there in the search volume and the niche and the category, and make sure that traffic is actually being driven from one keyword and not the keyword that you think it might be. And maybe a lot of it is branded search or external traffic, all those little things that can be difficult to determine when you're first looking at a product. That's where we're going to really dive into that more with those attendees. But great time there in person. We try to do these usually kind of correlating with our tribe coaching events. In the past, we kind of did them freestanding when we would do a course training, try to do one of these mastermind sessions. But lately they've been tied to the tribe coaching. So that's been really good. And I think we got a lot of positive feedback from the attendees. And some of the people who had been to multiple, like Gary or like Steve Peterson, felt that this was an improvement on that. So we definitely, I think, have found a better model of kind of doing an intro 101 training day for those who are looking to just find their first product or really take their first product and be successful with that.
Our first foray, we should share with the folks our first foray into potentially getting into retail.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something we don't talk about a lot because obviously we are first and foremost have been Amazon sellers for so long now that e-commerce, Amazon is just a way. But I think we have shared that 10% of our sales typically occur, roughly 10 to 15% of our sales occur on Shopify. And we have been exploring other online channels. But for a while now, we've really been saying, hey, we think that our brand has retail potential and it is just, not the traditional path that, a D2C e-commerce company has taken if you're a pure play e-commerce. But we see that potential with our brand. And you actually had the opportunity to meet with 2 different, what would you call them, retail chains while we were there, right? So just walk me through, like, what is that experience like when you're sitting down and looking at retail? Because I know it can be a little intimidating.
Sure. So one of the retailers, this is a pretty cool story on how we got connected with them. One of the retailers has about 50 locations all over the country. And they had a customer who really loves our products. And that customer kept calling the headquarters of this retail store. It's a pretty large chain, and working his way up to the buyer and telling that buyer, hey, look, you need to carry this product or these products in your stores. And so they kept working up the chain, working up the chain. And finally, he got the right buyer, and the buyer called us and said, hey, look, I keep hearing from this customer, that your products are awesome. We should carry them. So that's how we were able to get in front of them. And definitely unique experience. This was the lead buyer again for a very large, over $100 million in revenue they do in sales chain. And we were able to go before them. We brought our products, we laid them out in the conference room. And basically, you just have to sell them on why you think your products are unique and different and why they would do good in retail location. So that one went really well as we met with a national chain. So if I said the name, I don't want to say it, but if I said it, everybody would immediately know who it was. So we were able to meet with that buyer as well. And, dealing with retail, and those of you that listen to the podcast that have been in retail, you'll understand this. They're still kind of like in the dinosaur age, right? Whereas on Amazon, we can bring a new product, we create a listing, it'll be up there in a half hour in front of millions of shoppers. Whereas retail is a lot more of a slow rollout, and it's definitely a lot more complicated process. So with that buyer, we sat down. We didn't really know him. He immediately kind of like did a power play, by saying, okay, like what do you guys have different? I don't really see anything different there. And so we basically had to sell him on why our product mix, again, would be a good opportunity for him to make sales, because at the end of the day, those products that those buyers put in their stores, they have to sell. And so this was kind of the unique thing that he said to us that I took away with. He said, hey, look, understand the first order is always easy. We get people like you that come in here every day, pitching their products. The first order is super easy. He said the second order is the one where if you have a good product or not, because they're not going to order if that product just sits on their shelves, right? And so he just wanted to kind of make that clear. I walked away from that saying, yeah, that's right. And, just kind of a whole understanding. But the good news is both buyers said that they would do a test in various markets of our products. So, which is a great opportunity for us. So it's a lower MOQ, and we can see now by throwing our products in their stores if we're going to be able to sell these things with foot traffic in retail.
Yeah. So to me, big win at the end of the day. Just getting a test order is essentially, I think, the best you can kind of expect. And I guess unless you have just a perfect product that's going to be for their retail store, but a test rollout. And then, we've talked about it before. That's where retail is tricky. And a retailer, for the past 10 years has looked at Amazon, someone who's been in retail, and it's so different and foreign to them. And they don't understand anything about ranking or the BSRs or Amazon PPC. And we get all that, right? That's what we live and breathe every day. And we're, really good at that now because we've done it for so long. And it's just hard looking at retail. And there's just as many, or probably even more, of those types of variables of what you actually need to do to be successful. Yeah, there's not a ranking algorithm, but there essentially is, right? Like with your store placement and how visible your products are and all that. It's basically like being ranked on page one to search. So there's things like that I look at retail, and it's just such a struggle to say, yeah, I know this could be a good opportunity. It's just so different from what we're doing. And so, we've had to work with different brokers, and we've had to get advice. I know you've had several meetings over the past couple of weeks with people that are in this world to help say, like, yeah, look out for this, or this is the next step there. And anytime you go into something new, it's going to be like that. And so, if nothing else, I think I'm really looking at the retail exposure as a learning experience. We've been in Amazon for, I have for 8+ years, and I feel like I know the game pretty well. Although obviously we still would like to scale it up a lot more from where we're at. But retail, I think, is rounding out some of the commerce, retail. We're still in retail, even though we're e-commerce. So just rounding out some of the experience knowledge we have, because eventually, whether it's our current brand and this does take off like we want it to, and we're very hopeful in retail, or if it's another brand, I think if we're committed to building brands as a at least some form of a career path, right? Like building physical product opportunities, we're going to bump up against more retail or some type of hybrid opportunities in the future. So I'm trying to keep that there, right? Like there is definitely no, well, first of all, it was a success. We got a test order, but even if it wouldn't have been, there's no failures. There's just learning opportunities as we kind of expand our knowledge in this business. So yeah, I think that was a big win, and I'm excited to see what comes out from that. How many stores is our first test that we're doing? I know we have a test order going with two different things. What are we able to disclose how many stores we're getting into for this test?
Yeah, so one of the chains, there'll be 12 stores regionally, and another chain, it'll be 5 stores regionally.
Okay. So obviously, kind of start small. And just like Amazon, where if you sell well, you get ranked up to the first page of search. Retail is similar in a testing, as far as my understanding goes. If our products get this test and they sell well, essentially we'll be ranked up into more stores, more locations. And, reminds me of a little bit of the Sarah Blakely story, where what she had to do in her first retail stores. I don't think we've talked about that. If we need to pull some Sarah Blakely tactics, I don't think that's our plan. And we haven't said anything, but it does remind me, her retail story is probably the most familiar to me in the last couple of years of someone who's gone in and gone with that. All right, so that's exciting. I did want to just real quick hit on just the excitement of being there with over 200 Amazon sellers. It's been our tradition now the last couple of meetups. Every time we get together for a tribe meetup of our Amazon seller tribe, anybody who has sold over $1 million on Amazon in a 12-month period or the last calendar year has a gold lanyard indicating $1 million seller status. And it just always blows me away, even though we've seen it a couple of times now, the number of $1 million sellers that are in the Amazon seller tribe. And at this meetup specifically, I mean, half the people who were there essentially were $1 million sellers. And so we kind of line them up on the wall, and we have a picture of all of us on the stage together. So that's probably one of the highlights of the event whenever we get together, just because it, again, shows that proof of concept that if all these other people are able to do this, and most of them relatively in the last just year, 2 or 3, it's definitely possible through this, through what Gay and Gary are teaching in the Amazon Seller Tribe every day.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Every time, we ask them to step up. The stage isn't big enough to hold the amount of $1 million sellers that are there. This meetup we had at Bass Pro Shops, which is their headquarters. They have a large conference center there. Bass Pro Shops, started by a gentleman, entrepreneur named Johnny Morris. Phenomenal, again, $1 billion organization. They own all of Cabela's now. So it was a beautiful setting, again, to talk about being an Amazon entrepreneur and then having that as a backdrop, Johnny Morris, who is, just phenomenal entrepreneur, to say, hey, look, we can do this too.
Yeah, that's the second time we've done it there, I believe, and just great location and event. So, if you are looking to do arbitrage or know someone who needs to get started on Amazon, and that's going to be the best place for them to start, because we've, again, seen so many people go through Amazon Seller Tribe who have just started, never sold on Amazon, and are able to hit the $1 million status faster than any other way that we've seen. Definitely check it out. Go to AmazonSellerTribe.com. Join the tribe there, and you can do a free trial to join the group and check out whenever there's a coaching or a meetup that is happening. Well, Andy, glad to be back. I know it's been a busy week. Whenever we're traveling, that's probably the hardest thing for me to get away. Travel for half a week is to step out of the operations a little more. I know we talked about a couple of weeks ago some of the steps that we're taking to help with our operations. That's actually an upcoming meeting that we have later today, is to discuss a key hiring position for our brand. So that's not something we talk a lot about here, because we're kind of always hiring and, sometimes firing as necessary or letting people go. But typically our team is built pretty straightforward with quite a number of VAs and hourly workers. But we're really in the process of considering and looking at what I would call a key high level salary type employee, which is kind of a bigger step for us. So I think we'll unpack that in a future episode based on how things go and our experience and some of the lessons that we've learned. And it's probably one of the things that all entrepreneurs, again, stages of growth through the entrepreneur journey. We've done a lot of hiring in the past couple of years, but whenever you do a hiring decision that's just a little bit different, it opens up a whole bunch of discussion questions that can be difficult at times. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to being able to bring back some of that learning and knowledge to the podcast. And like I said earlier, if you haven't yet, make sure you go to amazingfreedom.com, sign up to be an insider. The newsletter that we have, we've actually been releasing that to everyone in the past, but we are now going to start making that just for our insiders exclusively. So if you've been holding off signing up for being an insider just because you're a little bit lazy, no judgment. That would probably be me as well. We are limiting that now just to our insiders as a way to say thank you to those of you who have taken the time to just sign up for free to be an insider at amazingfreedom.com. All right, Andy, thanks a lot. I'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Amazing Freedom Podcast.